How's it going, Ringmasters? It is Brent Dunn and my buddy Paul. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about a recap of our week because we definitely had an interesting thing. Now, I know a lot of you do not yet know who Paul is, so I'll let Paul introduce himself.
What's up, Ringmasters? First time online. Actually, I'm the guy who's usually behind the scenes. I don't really come online much. But basically have had an IT background for a long time, for 15 years. So, I've always had a knack for, advertising online, just by reading and little by little, generated some income over the years. And then finally, as I had mentioned, I you know, had to make a decision. I got kids, so it was like continue the IT stuff or go into the online where it's insecure. The security wasn't there, but I really like doing it. So I finally decided that it was time to move out of the IT space and onto onto the online world. And I couldn't be happier. I mean, I'm not here to you know, like you guys always hear the same stories from everybody. Like I made it happen, and like it is a reality. I'm not a I'm an older guy, but hard work, dedication.
I'm sure you definitely had some struggles while doing it, right? It wasn't just, hit it overnight kind of thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that I had met a friend real quickly that basically gave me the rundown. He's like, the first thing you need to know with any type of online marketing is you need to be ready, to take a loss. If that's not in your blood, then forget about it. And I didn't quite understand. Yeah, yeah, no problem. I understand what you mean. I'm good for it, and like, but then I understood at the beginning there's growing pains, and like once you finally get over that hump and you realize that you're not like somebody, like I was never a quitter, so it was like always tomorrow's going to be a better day type of thing. And then once you just hit that milestone, you take off, and you never turn back. But I think a lot of people, that's where the hard part is like just getting to that milestone where you're finally getting over that hump. And once you get over that hump, like you'll just see things like start rolling. And like I said, I have a family, I had a full-time job, and it was like all of a sudden my little hobbies and knacks that I enjoyed doing were kind of put on the side because I was indulged by this stuff. So
It became your
that's
hobby, though. That I think
yeah,
that's the important thing to
yeah.
mention.
You really have to like doing. You need to like doing anything to really succeed at it. Like everybody will say the same thing, obviously, but like I'm I'm right in then on that. I had no experience like whatsoever, and I just liked it. And then you realize that you're committing more and more time to it, and I've done it all now, so that's where we are today. And teamed up with Brent this week. We're not. I'm more of an optimizer, traffic, stats, breaking down numbers. That was, that's my first love and where my strengths are. And I think Brent, I mean, we call you the jack of all trades, but I know you're kind of in the same boat as me. That's why we relate a lot when it comes to, traffic and the whole vision. So, uh, quite the week this week. Quite the week.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what we're kind of getting at is, as I've kind of said in videos in the past, is I'm terrible at sales. Ever since I started in internet marketing, even back when I was doing local SEO for clients, I could have grown so much more if I wasn't nervous to pick up the phone and basically call people. And usually Paul and I are the traffic guys. We're not the ones doing sales. Our other partners, take care of that for us a lot. However, this week we kind of dared each other to score our own clients and really go through that because we know it's going to be a problem that a lot of people are going to face. And so, to be honest, come Monday, I was terrified to pick up the phone. But at the end of the day, I was calling so many people, and in my mind, I thought, man, I got a service that's so good that no one's going to say no. And then all of a sudden, my mindset started to switch because the businesses were so defensive. And I know, Paul, you had a similar experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, we had our guys are back next Wednesday, so still we have another week of this. But um, it really, for me, it came down to boredom. Like we decided, I mean, when we run traffic in a certain state or in a certain area, I kind of like spoke to Brent, say like listen, I got to get out of here. I'm like, we have to try new stuff, and like I'm not waiting around. So do I have any sales background? I mean, look, I'm not shy. I'll pick up the phone. I've gone to meet clients in person. But I mean, it's completely different when you're, you're just picking something up and like saying, "Hey, I'm going to call them and I'm going to I'll basically land them, you know. And I was, Brent, you know how it was. I was very confident that I knew what I was going to say, and like, oh, this is going to be easy. And you know, after 5 calls, it was like, okay, reality check. I need to change my whole strategy, right? Um,
Yeah. I think one thing I want to say though is the reason why we were so confident going in is because we already were working with a roofer, and the state we were going after was California. And so, for those of you not familiar with how the states are, California generally is, higher end income compared to like the Midwest and stuff. Obviously there's nicer areas all over, but the income bracket is usually higher in the Bay Area and stuff. And so our mindset is that these leads are going to be, $20,000 to $25,000 jobs for these guys. They're going to be interested. Well, what we didn't realize is that there in this particular state, there's so much growth that there wasn't enough contractors, and so they had too much work. And it was our fault because we didn't do the research first. And that was earlier in the week. It was eventually we found a solution to that, but that was our main issue.
yeah, and I mean, I thought about, like I said, I've done sales before, more of like we had an SMS company, and we would basically sell SMS services. So, I mean, a lot of it was over the phone, but then actually going in person to meet a client. So that was, you know, locally, or it was easier because I know that all I need to do is get into the front door, and I'm good to go. But in this case, it's obviously a little bit different. Um, so I decided, you know, when we discussed, I said, I'm not calling small clients this week. If it's the one thing, it's like I'm gonna, you know, I know I could call the medium to larger size businesses and, you know, get them to listen. And you know, I know that the chain to go up, who to contact, but I said, oh, for this, we'll just go through the front door and see how it goes. And like Brent said, I mean, every state's different. Did we do our research? I mean, you know, we followed our protocol that we always do. We looked at numbers, but that doesn't always relate to landing clients. So, what was one of the states? Oregon, Brent. Um,
Yeah, we researched a lot of the West Coast, and
yeah,
one thing we weren't factoring in was the state having so much growth that the actual contractors, there was a supply and demand, shift where there wasn't enough supply and too much demand. That was something that we didn't foresee happening. And, we wouldn't have known that unless we actually called them though. So if we just turned around and started selling leads to, even affiliate networks or whatever, that particular state, no one wants to buy them because there's already so much supply of leads already.
yeah, exactly. And basically, once I was able to speak with somebody and basically get a little bit more, I had a feel for her. She kind of gave me a rundown, like she was super nice, and they kind of explained that what we basically do, well, our guys do, is you know, we target through zip codes or cities, and then we work our way out. Okay, so what we did was I finally got somebody. They were a larger company, probably about 40 employees, so they had a full-time staff, you know, around the clock on the roofing side. Basically, she said, listen, she's like, we're solidly booked till the end of October. I said, then we started going back and forth, and now I knew I had her. Where basically I told her, you know, okay, you're good, but I mean, I need somebody around your area. Is there somebody reputable, you know, professional that I could call? So she basically gave me a couple of companies, competitors. That's when you know you're in with them, because when you know your potential client is giving a competitor's name, then you know, like, you guys personalize. So from there, it was just a daisy change. She gave me a name, we called them, and then from back and forth, and then we just realized that, yeah, like, you know, the state of Oregon and, you know, the populated cities are just, you know, they're booked right now. So it's like, that's the thing, is that you got, like, with experience, you'll realize when something is like, stop wasting time in it and move on. So you know, it's never wasted because you learn from it, but I think the biggest thing with experience is, like I said, you need to know when to move on from something. And it was like, took about a day, and then we realized, okay, Oregon is just like, let's not compare it to California right now. We got to move on, right? So
And the thing though is that we could have easily said, "Oh, we're not able to score a client. This doesn't work," and then just totally give up, right? But so far people watching the video have only heard bad news in our case. But we did eventually find out that there are states that they don't have as much growth as far as new homes developed and stuff like that, and they're needing to be repaired before the winter. And so we found out, like northern states, like what was it? You said Minnesota, I believe it
Minnesota,
was one.
Wisconsin, yeah.
Yeah. So those, on the other hand, we were calling up roofers and they're willing to pay $100 a lead, and it was a much, much better response rate. But once again, we wouldn't have known that unless we went through, and got beat up basically from the California companies, from the Oregon companies, and even, Washington and so on.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like I said, then you know, once we had that basically just that crack in the window to get in to slide in, then it was just a floodgate. Like right away, that's when Brent and I, it's like, okay, well, the sales side is done. Now let's get into our bread and butter, right? So, get some campaigns set up real quick, snap our fingers, point to some properties, send some calls, and then like you're in your comfort zone. And I think in the end, it's like the beauty is there's so much reach that it'll never end, right? It's just how much you want to, how much you want to learn and really getting something that and learn from it. Like um, both of us, I mean, I didn't know much about roofing a couple of months ago. That wasn't my cup of tea. I wasn't on those campaigns at all. I had no clients under the roofing side. And it's like little by little, you just pick it up, you learn, you like something every day that you pick up on, and that comes with who you work with, right? Like on my own, I would have never been able to do that. And that's the good thing by surrounding yourself with people where you're just sharing knowledge and you just realize that, if you're afraid or you think you're not going to know something, you won't get it. Well, no, you'll just pick up on it naturally. You don't realize that, look, 2 months later, roofing, like, am I an expert? No. Do I know a lot of terminology and how things work? Yes, I do. And that's the great thing about services is that it'll never end. There's so much.
And that's another thing I want to mention is, when we were first getting into roofing, we were having trouble figuring out the keywords. And so one thing that I noticed is some of these roofers, even though they were saying no, like the California ones, like I met a guy locally here that I called him up and he was a really nice guy. And, he was pretty transparent. He said, look, I'm booked and, blah, blah, blah. But I ended up having a conversation with him and I figured out what services is actually working for him. And once you understand what services are working for the actual contractors, which ones are making them money, then that correlates to which keywords you should be bidding on. Because, if you work with, an affiliate network or something like that, where it's just based on a set price, no matter what the lead is doing, you can fall into the trap of bidding on keywords that may not back out for the actual person buying the leads. However, when you're working with a local client, you can kind of drown out your competition if you're sending them quality. Because if you're getting them, a $10,000 job or $15,000 job, they'll easily pay you $100, $150 a lead. And then it's much easier to bid on those high intent keywords that are getting them that money. And so, we wouldn't have known that unless we really focused in on roofing, for a while. And we weren't experts in it at all. We just, called, we researched, and now we're finally able to build out our campaigns and scale, the roofing niche in multiple states that we found are valuable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a lot of that'll just come with time. I mean, not everybody's going to be a specialist in learning proper keywords. And obviously, budget is the biggest issue we realize is that, not everybody could go out and bid $5 a keyword. And it's all about, people searching on YouTube. And I did at the beginning too, like, how to get cheap traffic, how to, target cheap keywords. And, then it's not always the way. And I'll keep repeating that it's not about like the amount of volume, but it's around the right targeting. And eventually then, it's just about having a strategy where then you have enough money to compete, to compete at the top where you don't have to worry about anybody else basically pushing you aside. And just once you get to that point, then that's when you really have, you have a stranglehold on everything. So I think that's what, Brent, I think that was our main thing. I mean, I know you were the Google guy, and I was a Facebook guy, and then from there we basically shared knowledge, and in the end, it's the same thing. I mean, we that's how things really took off.
Yeah. And we found out that stuff that I was doing may not work in every niche, and then stuff I was doing in other niches would work, and vice versa with Paul. And if we weren't sharing that information, we wouldn't have been able to have it as much success as we've had. And one thing I want to mention is, because you mentioned people, worrying about $5 a click and stuff. What most people don't realize is especially when they're new, they go in and they're scared to quote unquote lose money. You know, they're coming in with the mindset that, oh, this is, I'm going to be able to make money, blah, 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 blah. But what you really need to realize is if you're really starting a business, a traditional business, in the grand scheme of things, spending $100 a day on generating clicks to send directly to a client, and you're just generating revenue right away. You see the numbers right there in front of you. It's a lot different than you having to start up a restaurant, get a bunch of permits, rent $1,000 or a $100,000 a year, place to put your restaurant and all that stuff. Like to start these businesses, it's still cheap,
Yep.
but
Yep.
you just still have to realize you do have to invest money. And the thing is I think a lot of you guys that will be watching will be coming from the mobile space and stuff like that, because that's where we used to be. And it is a mind, it messes with your mind when you're coming from used to being paying a fraction of a penny a click, and then coming to this and spending 5, 10, even $30 a click. The difference is a click, when it turns into a call, the percentage of conversion is so much higher than it would be, buying those fraction of a penny clicks.
Yeah, and that was the coolest thing I think, was realizing that you're just not looking at thousands of clicks to, you know, track your conversion rates. What am I changing? Okay, I got to bring this up from 3% to 5%. It's down to 1%. Now it's great. First of all, when you're direct with a client, whether smaller, it doesn't matter where it is, as long as they're happy. And you could look at your dashboard at the end of the day and like, okay, well, I got 50 clicks here, one call only, like one call. But like you said, when that call is $45 for that landscaper, the guy who's fixing the pool, hey, he's got one, they got four. And at the end of the day, you start looking at your campaigns once you build your team, and it's like, oh, from 30, 40, 50, like all of a sudden you break that magic 100 call a day number, and it's like you just build milestones. And then I think people look at money, like you mentioned. It's a good point. If people look at things and like, how do I make $1,000 a day? How do I make? It's always money in the end. But just like build your milestones, get there, and then you'll realize that it's not all about money in the end. It's just about proper management and just like getting to that next milestone, right? So
Yeah. And also learning as you go. Like, I probably said this in videos before, but it is important to remember. When people come into internet businesses, they assume that they can instantly get it, right? They think that they're going to buy a course or something, and then day two, they're going to be making money. However, that same mentality to go get a job or something, a higher paid job, a lot of them require 4 years of college or even 8 years of college. Well, obviously, this doesn't require you to spend 4 years of college, but you do need to give yourself at least some time to be able to learn the skills needed to have success at it. The good news is once you do get a baseline of skills, which to be honest, you can do very quickly if you're motivated. It just depends. Like if you're money motivated, not so much. If you're motivated to be able to quit your job, and you're not making very much at your job, say for example, you figure out your absolute minimum to live, to pay your rent and all that stuff is like 2 grand, 3 grand. This is very doable with just a few clients. And then now that you're able to quit your job and you're still able to pay for your food and all that stuff, now you can scale your business, focus more time and get to those crazy, the milestones that everyone thinks that they should be hitting on week two, like $1,000 a day and stuff. You can get to that, but it first requires the actual time to put into it.
yeah. And I think I like the most important thing, and I think you nailed it when you said that, how much investment to start a business. Like people look at online, and like you said, whether it's mobile, like running lead gens, but when you could go out and land your own client, and again, it doesn't, we keep repeating the same thing. Maybe it's not fair because I mean, obviously we have experience, now we have a team specializing in certain areas, but at the same time for yourself, it's like everybody knows somebody who could help them. All you need is like everybody knows a landscaper or a roofer or somebody that basically could just give you an idea on like how a certain service works, who to reach out to, and just get your brain, get your brain going a little bit. And then from there, you'll put pieces of a puzzle together, and then just, you take one thing and just get good at one thing. Don't try to be all over the place. There's a ton of services, like that could be tested, but get good at one thing, figure out what's, what interests you first of all, and then just take it from there. And I think a lot of it will come in time. Like, I'm somebody who really goes into like crazy details with, I mean, I could look at events. Like, I know, let's say in Canada, or the northern states, there's a lot of ice. Like last winter, there was a lot of ice. Then I know that, the landscaping and certain construction companies near the end of the winter, they're not just shoveling snow. They got to get on roofs now and break that ice. I know that because I know people in the industry. So that just gives you an idea right there. That clicked in my mind. Oh, now I know that people are searching for this. Like the guys I know, their phones are ringing off the hook. So if they're searching for that and they don't have a local contractor, go on Google, target that. What kind of keywords do I need to look for, ice breaking or, roof cleaning type of thing. So it's all about events also. And that you'll just pick up on time. It's just all these little things that'll come to you basically.
Yeah,
I
we've
think.
heard that. We've heard that time and time again. A lot of people figure out a niche after they've had to have had to basically hire an expert in that niche, or they've worked for an expert in that niche. Because if you, for example, if my roof fell off my house or something, and I had to call an expert, I would know the funnel of it. I would know the flow. I'd know what I typed in. I would know the information I was looking for, and all that stuff. And so it makes it easier. However, with a lot of people when they're doing media buying, especially when they're trying to run multiple different types of offers and stuff like that, you're kind of all over the place. You don't focus in on anything. But with this, you can really focus in on either one specific geo, so you have that geo information that you know about, or you can focus in on one specific niche. And like, for example, if you wanted to focus in just on roofing and you figured out a particular city that was working, and you got it, started generating leads, then you can start slowly expanding out. And now you're making, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, because you're slowly taking over more of the map, and you're an expert in there. So it's much easier to start a campaign in city number 2 than it took you to do in city number 1. Vice versa, you can also do that at a geo level where you do multiple different niches in a particular city. But because you know how the city terminology and stuff like that, like when, how the weather is, just like Paul mentioned, stuff like that, you can focus in on that particular city. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but you really should just focus in on one thing and just keep going at that if you find success with it.
Yep. And there's so much money to be made just with one. You could make money with one category or, one service, as we'll call it. Um, like Brent had mentioned, that's the beauty of it, is that you just, once you find that winning combination, and you will find one, like, um, it's just about rinsing and repeating, right? You're just expanding, you're bringing it out of the state. And then by then, whether it's a small client or not, your ad works, what type of keywords you're looking for, and you just flip that over to that city or that state where you're looking into, and it's just like, rinse and repeat for all the states. So it's kind of like, I'm coming from a guy who like ran offers, like, whether it was app installs, and I've tested everything. Like, so worldwide, my biggest thing was when something would start working, I was like right away, okay, well, is this in, how many countries is this in? Is this all over the place? And when I would hear, like, when I had something working that was in 60 countries, it was like, I would freak out because it's great now. Now I could just target everything. However, in the States, it's even easier because it's like, it's just the population, the demos, it's the same kind of concept. An ad that might work in, Italy might not work the same way in Iraq, and it probably won't, whether
You
it's
gotta
a
get it
picture.
translated and all this stuff.
Exactly. So it will not, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to yield the same results, but like with the service and you're in the same country, it's it's automatic.
And
That's
the other
it's the
thing to
best
mention
feeling.
is, doing the mobile stuff, or, a lot of the different types of offers available to internet marketers out there, they're very time sensitive. You know that they do well, everyone jumps onto them. So as soon as they're doing well, and the affiliate networks in this case start emailing it out, everyone jumps on them, and then they burn out. With this, the ROI that you're generating with those types of campaigns might be through the roof. And yeah, you might make $10,000 in a single day. However, that only lasts a few days, and now you're working for months to find that next campaign. With the pay per call space, especially with local, it's a bit different. The ROI that you're first generating is a bit lower. It is a bit slower. Not as many clicks are coming through. Things are, not as quick as the mobile space. However, once you set up the campaign and once you get things rolling, it is there. The chances of the roofer, if it's working out for you, for example, if you're generating roofing leads and it's working out for that roofing contractor, he's not going to shut the campaign off. He's going to continuously buy leads. And so you actually can scale this stuff much easier than you can trying to scale something that is going up and down all the time. Like I know both Paul and I have had that same issue where we get one offer working. This was, in the past where we get one offer working on mobile. We think that we can scale onto the next one. We finally get this one working, and then that last one died. And now we're trying to get a new campaign going. And so things are always dying as we have new ones coming up. This isn't the case. Yeah, we still lose some campaigns, but it's a very, very small percentage in comparison.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's great money to be made for people that are just starting up. Why I say that is because, I didn't start with pay per call. I learned pay per call years after. But you control your client basically, and that was the thing. And like Brenton mentioned, is that we can't, when you're running through an affiliate network or any type of affiliation, like the advertiser has you where, they shut you off or they shut the network off and then you're shut down. Well, then, it's up to you to go back to, you're not in your own control. You don't have your own destiny. You don't control anything. With a client, if you're hungry, once you get that feeling of landing your first client, again, even if it's a small client, um, you just, it just brings motivation into you that I could do this, and then you could personalize it. You could, go directly to him. He's not quite happy with the calls. Well, guess what? Stay on board. I'll try to tweak some things. It's like you could, he doesn't mean he's going to turn his back on you like an affiliate network or an advertiser where it's just like, okay, campaign shut off. It's over now. Well, what do you mean and why? It's just over. Like you're just an affiliate. This is different. You could
Yeah, they
actually
don't give you
personalize
quality
with them.
metrics. Yeah.
No, and I think most of you, it's like a lot of people worry about the traffic and like learning AdWords and learning Facebook. Yes, but believe me, that'll come. That's like the least of your worries. You just land clients, and then once you've done that, your confidence is just going to skyrocket, and from there, it's like bring ads on, and everything is going to come into place. I think
I
personally.
want to I want to rewind the tape just a bit on something that you said. Basically, if, for example, because I know a lot of people are going to be concerned when they're first starting out that, oh, well, what if I'm, what are you talking about quality? What if I'm not sending quality calls and stuff? That unfortunately will only come if you're working with your client, if you have an open line of communication with your client, even in, working with mobile campaigns or whatever, at affiliate level. Unless you're working with your affiliate manager and they're actively working with the advertiser, you're not going to know those quality metrics either. In the local space, however, if he's having a problem with, if your client's having a problem with quality, you say, hey, okay, no problem. Let's what price point works for you, and also we got to figure out which types of calls are working for you. And the best part about it is you set up your campaigns in such a way that you can see, call recordings. You can see which actual phone calls generated that quality contact information, and then you can optimize your campaigns where, yeah, you're generating less calls, but the quality for your client is through the roof. And now you can take that information, and your next client that you get in another city, you're already going to have those quality calls because you've already optimized your roofing campaign or whatever, and then it can scale out into several other cities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just really about staying organized, and if you're somebody who like you pay attention to what you're really doing, and like not just look at the good but you learn from the bad, then you're all you're going to do is grow. And I think it's really important to and I'll say this, is to personalize with your clients. That's something that as long as your client likes you, you will stay on board. And that's something that have I screwed things up? For sure. My job, with clients, I've always ton of mistakes. But at the end of the day, I just want them to be happy. You want them to like you and trust you that, you're going to continue to provide the best service you can. And as long as you do that, like again, money, they'll keep generating money, and they'll keep pumping money into you, because they believe in you. And that's where your hard work comes into play. And that's the beauty of running your own business and calls, where it's, you could track everything. And again, you could just personalize with them. They're your clients. You're not relying on an affiliate network where you don't control it. I think that's the most important thing. And that's when we're take it from us where, oh, I mean, Brent has done it. We've done it, is, and when it's time, like you could learn from an affiliate network, learn to traffic that way. And eventually, like in your mind, it's going to snap and like, okay, well, I'm done with this stuff. Like I need to build my own business now through clients. I'm at that stage, and I guess we're just, trying to fast forward the process for everybody, like setting up these videos and talking about it. But take it from a guy like me who, like I said, came from an IT background, and and I've pretty much seen and done it all. So
For sure. All right, guys. I think we're going to tie up this video because it's already been about 30 minutes. And, we're definitely going to be doing a lot more of these with the entire team. As more people are watching these videos, because they are live, people will be able to ask questions, on YouTube, and we'll be able to see them and answer the questions. I think that's the point we want to get to, because, we can share our experiences and stuff like that, but we also want to be able to help you guys, in a way that you may not otherwise have been able to get that type of help. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. Until next time.